Hello and welcome to DNQ Football, where we are now doing our official preview of St. Lucia versus San Marino. You've got 172 in the FIFA World Rankings, a side that sometimes doesn't really compete in World Cup qualifiers like last time around, but did pretty well in Nations League. A strange side, St. Lucia, up against, of course, dwellers of the bottom of the FIFA World Rankings, 2-11 San Marino. Haven't won for years, had a game against the Seychelles which they should have won and they only drew. It's exciting. Games to be played on the 17th and 20th of November, so their final game is the day that the World Cup starts, which is quite random, but pretty cool. Both games to be played in St. Lucia. Ryan, are you looking forward to this one?
Yes, mate. Great intro. And this is our second video on this game. We did a little bit of a preview and all you need to know when it was announced. So if you haven't seen that, what on earth have you been doing? Can we drop in something? So if I say you can watch it here or here, there's a button. Hey, you can add that in after.
It's here.
There. So if you haven't seen that, go and check it out. And in a small bit of preparation for this catch up on this game, mate, I've been Googling, I've been checking the Twitter sphere. I can't find really very much. It's everywhere, as in the fixtures are confirmed. So they're on all of the football websites that you could possibly imagine as upcoming international friendly fixtures, which is great. So, yeah, it's going ahead. And let's just hope for two cracking games. I love the fact that there's two games versus the one game that we had, San Marino Seychelles, which is great. It's the first time San Marino, in their 194 games, have ever played someone from the Caribbean. A few little stats and facts for you coming up, and it presents an incredible opportunity for them to win a football game, which they've not done. You said for ages they've not done it since a 1-0 victory against Liechtenstein in 2004. They have across their entire... So for anyone that's new to the channel or sampling some of our stuff, so San Marino are, as Tom's already mentioned, they are bottom of the FIFA World Rankings. They have, in their entire history, played 194 games. They've only ever won once. They've drawn 8 games and they've lost 185. They've scored 27 goals in those 194, which is a goal every 7 games. And they've conceded 801, conceding at least 4 a game. However, this could be different. They should have beaten the Seychelles.
Yes, they should.
They should have beaten the Seychelles in that 0-0 draw. They were missing a couple of key players that I think are back. We're hoping that they're back, but again, I've not seen or heard too much in sort of prep for this game. Now, you mentioned St. Lucia. Now, they've hardly played this year, haven't they? They've played 3 games this year, I think. Lost 1, and then they've won a couple in the CONCACAF Nations League. They've already secured their promotion back to Nations League B. Yeah. And they'll be, I guess, sort of using these back-to-back games as just more fixtures in their calendar, a calendar that's looked a little bit bare, a little bit naked. I don't know how to call it, mate.
It's a tough one.
I don't know how to call it.
Because you've got a side that's played quite a lot recently in San Marino. They've organised a lot of international friendlies, to be fair to them. And obviously played in things like UEFA Nations League as well. And CONCACAF sides don't play very often, as a general kind of rule of thumb, unless you're a Gold Cup side. You don't play very often. You do World Cup qualifiers and now Nations League, which is great. But St. Lucia didn't compete in World Cup qualifiers because they would have been in the Turks and Caicos Islands Belize group, and they didn't compete. So I assumed at that point, when sides don't compete in World Cup qualifiers, it's often because it's sometimes they're not that good anyway. They're not sort of going to really pose too much of a threat in terms of getting through to the latter stages. But I kind of wrongly assumed that they'd have been the one that, like, Turks and Caicos Islands kind of competed with on a level playing field. But in actuality, they're not a bad side. You know, when they have competed in Nations League, like you say, they're back to League B. They're an okay team. They are a minnow. You know, they're 172 and they are a minnow. I think there are a few teams around them in the world rankings that would potentially beat them. Some of the Asian sides, I think, with Asia, I think you get a lot of sides that are quite low ranked but actually okay, and then it's some CONCACAF teams that are between sort of 150 and 180 can still be quite poor. That's not meant in a disrespectful way at all. And equally, you've got a few European sides, like we spoke about Andorra a lot, and they're a pretty solid side. Gibraltar are okay. San Marino, on the other hand, they're obviously not very good because of the world ranking. But like you say, they should have beaten the Seychelles anyway, and they were missing a couple of key figures. Nani and Berardi are the two that are highlighted. It's a little bit of a case of what if for that fixture, really. If those two were available, they could have got that win. I feel like this double-legger, as we sort of drift into the realm of predictions now, I feel like San Marino will win at least one of them.
Do you think?
I think they're going to win one. I think they're going to...
Yeah.
I'm going to go quite ballsy and say a win apiece.
A win apiece?
They're going to each win one. And I think that San Marino will win the second game.
Interesting. With regards to the squads, as we know, we know very, very little. We are going to assume that St. Lucia will call up a similar squad as they did for their couple of Nations League games. One thing that you've mentioned in the previous video about Terrell Thomas for Charlton. There's a chance he won't play. Charlton have got games on the 19th and the 22nd.
Yeah, he probably won't.
So he's only featured for them 5 times this season. So I'm not sure if they're going to give him the kind of all clear to go over to St. Lucia and participate in these games. Not sure, but I mean they'll have their experienced heads, Kurt Frederick, Lester Joseph, and then a fairly new addition. I say fairly new. Jevic McFarlane has got 4 goals in 8 games. Yeah. Now San Marino, we know who we're going to have. We're going to have Benedettini, we're going to have Palazzi, Rinaldi, and then Vitaioli. All of the familiar. San Marino have got a squad, and they've all got 40, 30, 50, 70 caps, haven't they? The big question is Nicola Nani, and that he plays in Serie C. He's their best player by a mile. If he plays, could they add to their 27 goals that they've scored in their entire history? Maybe. I think if he plays, if he's in the squad, I think a draw and a San Marino win. You think
they've got the edge as well?
I think they're going to break their duck, mate. Yeah. And no disrespect to St. Lucia, absolutely incredible nation, but God, I would love a San Marino win.
You know what? I think it was interesting because I've said a number of times on the channel, San Marino are not the worst team in the world. And I believe that to be a statement of fact, given that even though statistically
you've got no facts to back it up.
No, I have no facts to back it up, but I wholeheartedly believe that San Marino are not the worst team in the world. But I will say, if they don't win one of these 2 games, I will have to change my rhetoric around that. Because you can't play the Seychelles, who have no professional footballers, not of any kind of European standard, should I say. I like the Seychelles as a team. I do. They're very passionate, and they were very good in that Mahinda Rajapaksa where we kind of saw them in a bit more detail. But there's no way that they should travel away to San Marino and get a 0-0 draw. They just shouldn't. San Marino have been playing against good quality teams, getting good experience for years and years. Benedettini is a very good keeper, and they just cannot get results. And if they don't win one of these 2 games, you have to just accept they're the worst team in the world. But it will be an interesting benchmark because, like you say, they've never played a CONCACAF side. And I think that CONCACAF is one of the poorest regions across the board, actually.
Well, yeah, I mean, because of the Caribbean islands and how they all and where they all sit. I don't know if they've never played a CONCACAF team. I know they've never played anyone from the Caribbean.
Sorry, But that's the right thing to say.
Yeah. There's a very high chance, though, to be honest. That's me being picky there, but that's your statement there is bang on. It's going to be an incredible benchmark. 2 fixtures that we are buzzing with, and hey, if they get a win, I can tell we will do an instant reaction, won't we? They've won a go!
We will. We absolutely will. It's kind of mad, really, because, we talk about these double-leggers. I think that does give quite a clear picture because, that Seychelles game's a one-off game, kind of mad game. But that Indonesia-Curacao comes to my mind. Those 2 games. That was all right, I think that Indonesia played kind of out their skin, and I don't think that Curacao did that well, but it still gives you a real kind of clear picture. Oh, okay, this side's actually better than we think, because you can only ever compare teams within their own region, apart from like a World Cup. So I love these games. I absolutely love these benchmarks. I'm not going to do score predictions, but I'm going to just generally say low scoring, perhaps a 0-0 or a 1-1, you know, and then something low scoring in the favour of kind of San Marino if we were to go for the draw and the win. But I think there'll be low scoring games, in my opinion.
I'm about that, mate. I think a draw, a 0-0 or a 1-1, and then I don't know, maybe a 2-0. 2-0 or a 2-1. We will see. Looking forward to them.
We'll see. Don't have a confirmation yet on if those games will be available online. But if we do get confirmation or we do find it, we'll put a comment under this video and pin it for you so that you can see that, because that is a comment that we get quite a lot. But we would love to hear your predictions. So put those in the comments. Who are you supporting for this one? Of course, 2 Minnow Nation sides, so support whoever you want. But do let us know who you're supporting and what you think the score will be. And as ever, we will see you next time.